Joe Walsh needs to realize that the problem is not Trump. Trump is the symptom. You don't go after the symptom. It's like cutting off someone's arm because the doctor tells the patient that you got cancer in your arm. Well, I got news for you, man. If you want to tell him he's got cancer in his arm and you cut his arm off, and what if the cancer spreads to his stomach? Well, guess what? You didn't get rid of anything. You see what I'm saying? You gotta get rid of the cancer. You gotta get rid of the problem. And, it's like this is something that Joe Walsh doesn't seem to understand. Is you gotta get rid of the problem, not the symptom. The symptom is not going to matter if the problem's still there. You know what I mean? Like if you're not getting rid of what's causing the hiccups, but you just get rid of the hiccups, then the hiccups can come back later on. It's like this is not going to work. Or you get cut the arm off, it could go somewhere else. You get rid of the problem, not what the symptom is, because it doesn't do anything. You know what? Congress is bloated. Congress is the problem. Congress don't want to be conservative. That's where you need to fix it. Because Congress is the one that's the legislative branch. Congress is the ones that does this stuff called conservatism. The president never used to be conservative or liberal. Back in the 1700s, the president would just either veto or sign into law bills that was sent to them. They never actually got involved. I mean, yes, they had to ask for conservative principles and stuff. If they're conservative or more, progressive liberal principles, if they're progressive liberal, but they never had to act on any of this stuff. Now presidents have gotten more involved over the years, but the presidents were pretty much nonchalant and out of everything because they used to back in the 1700s would send it horseback of the State of the Union address by letter, and Congress would do it and the president would not be involved, and all the president had to do is just sign it. So even Congress didn't like what he was proposing, they could switch it up and do consider things even if the president wasn't, and just hoped he would sign it, and so the president wouldn't have to be conservative. As long as he would sign it, like Trump back in the 1700s, we'd be doing a lot of conservative stuff. A lot more than now because Congress was conservative back then when they said they were conservative. They said what they were and they were what they said back in the day. And then the president, just as long as you didn't veto it, man, you would look good. I get it. Trump is not the savior. He is not the conservative that you were wanting. He's not a liberal or progressive either. He is just a practicalist. He goes by his gut. And he just goes wherever he thinks is the right at the time. And he doesn't even know where it belongs. Is it a progressive idea or conservative idea? Is it more going, less going? He just thinks this is what's working. And you know what? I am telling you right now that I am a conservative. But the problem I'm seeing is more and more companies are not conservative. More and more companies are progressive. And when these companies start becoming progressive and they force it onto their employees, then it's just hard to stay conservative when you got companies not being conservative. So now it's like companies won't do the right thing and you can quit and try to find another job. And when more and more jobs refuse to offer maternity leave pay and maternity leave, and most jobs make you come back to work within, 3 to 7 days, it's like, well, then what are you supposed to do? I can't afford to take off. They don't want to pay me. And they tell me I also can't take off. I have to come back to work. So what am I supposed to do? Quit and go do another job? I mean, most jobs are the same. So I can't sit there. They won't let me take off. My kid is sitting there suffering because they don't have the nurture of a mother that they used to have. And God is out of the public square, so it's removing responsibility. When you avoid God, then you think you're God, then you know what? You can lead and you can do whatever the freak you want to. And you don't have to care about whether women get maternity leave or not. So then Trump cares and feels bad for these women that are, putting their kids in bad situations because they don't have the mother to look after them because the mother is gone, so there's no one to care for the children. So now they're saying they have to. And so now Trump feels like he has to do something by passing this law. Trump is not conservative on certain things. I get that. But if we had a Congress that beat checks and balances, we wouldn't need the president to be conservative. See, Joe Walsh, you need to wake up and say that, you know what, the reason that the swamp is because the swamp is draining Trump. And this is not something you should be supporting. You should be going after Congress. Congress is a swamp. Congress is draining Trump. And Trump is a victim here. Trump may be someone you don't necessarily like, but I will tell you, you didn't get him, Michael. You didn't get it, Ted Cruz. Trump is the one that made himself through the process and became the president. He's the one that got himself through the process and became the candidate. And whether you may not like it or not, Joe Walsh, Trump is the person we have. So he can be directed to be conservative. See, the thing with Trump is he's a director that you can direct him to be a conservative. But it doesn't mean he actually is a conservative. He can just be a conservative if you direct him that direction. You know, you can lead him to be a conservative if you have the right leaders in place. Right now, I don't even think Ted Cruz can be a conservative right now, or Mike Lee. Because the problem is Congress. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Is that even Mike Lee and Ted Cruz can't be a conservative. The only difference between Mike Lee and Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, and yes, this is true, is that Ted Cruz and Mike Lee wouldn't do a single progressive thing. But here's the thing, our liberal or any leftist thing, really. But here's the thing, they cannot pass conservative things either. They would be in a stalemate. There would be no budget. It would be continuous resolutions for the next 2 years, every 2 months. And the Congress would not appropriate the wall for Ted Cruz or Mike Lee, and the courts would shoot down national emergency. National emergency would be shot down by the courts if they were to do it. Now, if they don't do it, then they get no wall. They go through Congress like the way you want to. They get every 2 weeks a continuous resolution, but they still don't get the money for the wall. I don't think Ted Cruz or Mike Lee can have a physical budget because even when we're president, they can't get Congress that conservative. They can't get Congress to have a physical budget. So to me, how are you saying Trump's the problem? Why are you going after Trump when the fact is Trump has no control over Congress, no more than Mike Lee and Ted Cruz? If you had Mike Lee and Ted Cruz as president, all the conservative things that happened still would have happened. You'd have less liberal stuff, but they wouldn't be replaced with conservative stuff on those issues. It would just be a stalemate because he wouldn't get anything more than Trump did. The fact is, there'd be, last March, there'd be the beginning of every 2 months a continuous resolution till 2020, so there'd be no debt. So there'd be less bad stuff happening. Yes, if Mike Lee and Ted Cruz were president, there'd be less bad stuff, but there wouldn't be any more good stuff because there'd be just as stopped as Trump is. And you wouldn't be able to get it just as much as Trump. And you know what? They cannot control Congress. Congress is corrupt. Congress is like not checks and balances. Because to me, the definition of checks and balances is when it's good, you let it go through. When it's bad, you stop it. And when they said no, even before they heard Trump's proposal to end the shutdown about a month ago on Saturday, then that tells you that there's nothing that anyone can do, not even Ted Cruz or Mike Lee. Because the fact is that they don't want to do anything. They're not about checks and balances. They're just against it because it's a Republican idea. They're going to get it's a Republican idea. So nothing Mike Lee or Ted Cruz can do will change that because it's a Republican idea. They're going to be obstinate to any Republican idea because it's a Republican idea. It doesn't matter. The problem is we have these people that don't want to do what they're elected to do. To be intellectually honest, to use your brain, don't lie. And if it's a good idea, realistically, you pass it. If it's not a good bill or a good idea, you don't pass it. That's how it's supposed to work. And if you want limited government, then you pass bills that help you get to limited government, and you veto stuff that helps bloat it. But they veto it but the thing is, they veto it whether it's a good or bad bill. As long as it's a Republican bill, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, they veto it. Just because it's a Republican. And the only bills they pass are bad liberal bills passed by a liberal. Conservative, they just voted no matter what it is because it's him. Because it's Mike Lee or because it's Ted Cruz. I don't think they'd pass anything with Ted Cruz or Mike Lee. Congress would continue to just simply not pass a darn thing. I don't think Congress would do anything to help pass anything with Mike Lee or Ted Cruz. They're vetoing it down because it's Ted Cruz. They're vetoing it down because it's Mike Lee and because he's a Republican. They're not doing this because they think it's good or bad. They're just doing it because it's the person. They're not, it's like, to me, if you're not doing it based on the merits of the bill, whether it's bad or good, whether it helps you get to limit the government or not, then to me you should not be in Congress. And to me you should be focused on Congress. That should be where your focus be. That should be where your efforts be. And that should be where your attention goes to. Your attention should be directed towards Congress. Congress is where your outrage should be. Congress is where you should direct your anger at. And Congress is where you should be fighting. You want to fight like Muhammad Ali and sting like a butterfly and sting like a bee? Then you need to go after Congress. Hey, Joe Walsh, if you want to really fight, like you say, like a boxer, and fight every night, you're fighting the wrong person. I agree with you. We'll blow the government that we're heading to our grandchildren and children. I don't disagree with any of the stuff or facts that you're saying. I just disagree on who you're directing it toward. I think you're directing it towards the wrong person. I don't disagree. Trump is not a conservative, but he's not a right or progressive either. And I don't disagree with you that he's not the best for conservative principles by principle. But why I disagree and why I continue to keep saying I disagree is on him himself, that would pass conservative things if not for the government not being conservative. He would be good for us. He is someone that we can persuade because he doesn't have core positions on anything. He's not a principled person on anything. He's just a practicalist. He doesn't really have any positions. Like Walsh said, he's not a conservative or liberal. He's not left or right. He's not an ideologue. So he doesn't have a core position. He's like, whatever he thinks is great, that's what he will do. So we get him to think that this is what's great for limited government, then he'll do it. But why are you attacking Trump? Trump is the reason that shady bill passed. The reason the shady bill passed was because Congress will keep giving it to him over and over again. The problem is, you sit there and you box someone in a corner at some point. It's like, I guess another continuous resolution, but what's I going to guess? You see, I guess if Ted Cruz was to shut the government down permanently till 2020 or Mike Lee, then we'd have no airports for 2 years because the airports eventually quit flying because they don't feel safe about air traffic controllers or TSA members. All you can is continuous resolutions, but it doesn't get us anywhere. And at the end of those 2 years, like, what do you find? It's like, you know what? Not even Trump can blow the liberals, progressives' house down. It's like, this is the problem. So when you sit there and you attack Trump, you can attack Trump all you want to. But if we sit there and gave you your dream candidate, Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, and the inspiration of Ronald Reagan, all rolled into one, three personalities into one, I guarantee it wouldn't make a difference because at the end of the day, the Congress would still be obstructing Mike Lee, Ted Cruz type, whatever candidate it would be, because they try to push conservative stuff. The problem is Congress is the one that's upholding all this stuff. So if we can't get nothing through Congress, then I don't know what's going to happen. But Trump has been sworn in to pass stuff that helps us protect our people and protect the people. And if they refuse to do and pass that to help protect us, then he has to do what he has to do. And Joe Walsh, I got news for you. 1976, Congress passed a law into the Constitution giving Trump more authority, and this allowed to use the national emergency. And Jimmy Carter was the first to use it. Now you can sit there and say that's wrong, you can sit there and say it's unconstitutional, made constitutional. But this is the difference between Joe Walsh and Mark Levin. Is Mark Levin is a constitutionalist of what it stands for as of now. And Joe Walsh is a Constitution 76 before 1976. And so basically, Joe Walsh is defending before 1976 Constitution, and Mark Levin's defending the Constitution of today, which is why they have different views on this. Because as of today, Trump has the right, constitutionally, to use national emergency, and that's what Mark's defending. And now Joe Walsh doesn't think that should be, and it's not constitutional, remain constitutional, disagree that It is something that should be in the Constitution. Like, it's because they made it legal to abortion and infanticide in New York and Virginia doesn't mean that it's okay. So that's what Joe Walsh is coming at as. That doesn't mean it's okay or it should be constitutional. But Mark Levin again is looking at it as what it is, and that's will help us get the wall. And he has that at the disposal because he passed it through Congress. They passed it through Congress in '76 and did it the right way and made it constitutional. That he's following by what the Constitution says as of now. You're following the original Constitution on food and runoff. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Joe Walsh supports the constitutional on food and runoff. So, that drink that's in the produce section called Simply Orange. There's Tropicana. There's other orange juices too. There's like Tropicana. There's whatever, I forget the other one. But then there's also Simply Orange Juice. See, what it is Joe Walsh is Simply Orange Juice. Mark Levin is Tropicana. And Simply Orange Juice means that I went on food around enough. I'm defending the Constitution that was written from the beginning of time. And Mark Levin is defending the Constitution in which it stands for right now. And that's where they differ. And because the Constitution right now says that you can use national emergency, and that's why Mark supports it. Mark supports the Constitution is what it says. And even though there's edits to it, unless it's the stuff he disagrees with, like abortion or other stuff like that, yes, he would disagree. Because this is something he agrees with, meaning aka the wall, because Mark Levin supports the wall and thinks we should have the wall to protect its citizens. That's why he supports the edit in the Constitution. You don't think he should because it gives him too much power. But because it's power to something that he agrees with, and it is an emergency. Climate change is not an emergency. All right, the Green New Deal is not an emergency. Gun confiscation is not an emergency because people kill people, not guns. And so that's where Mark will make the distinction. I guarantee it tomorrow on his show. But I will sit there and say this, that you want to defend the original Constitution, fine, as long as he supports it for what it's used for, and it can only be used for emergencies, then that's why Mark has no problem with it, and that's what the Constitution says today. And whether maybe it's just something good that you may support or a common good, if you don't agree with President having this kind of power, it doesn't matter. You're going to still be against it. So, it's like if it's powers to something you agree with, then Mark's okay with it. If it's a powers to something, even if you may agree with it, which is the wall, but you don't. But it goes against like president having more power that you don't think you should have, then that's why Joe Walsh is going to be opposing Mark and be against it. But at the end of the day, it's like one looks at it as far as why you're using it, and the other one looks at it, what does this do? Give president more power. But if it's just for emergencies, I'm okay with him having the more power. But you see it the more extreme way and says even in emergencies you shouldn't have it. And yes, I disagree with you, Joe Walsh. Tell that to the rangers in Texas that's not a national emergency when they have to go to these farmers and ranch handlers and see coyotes breaking into their homes and tell me that the ranch handlers along with the rangers, and you tell those people that's not a national emergency. Yeah, because Trump waited because he tried to do it the right way like you want him to. That's why. It's not because it's not an emergency. Well, it's like, well, you're trying to make Trump look like a liar because if it was an emergency, why didn't you do it in October? Because he's trying to do it the right way, the constitutional way. But because he can't, he knew the loophole that was passed in 1976 allowed him to use national emergency. So now that's why now if I have to, I'll do it that way. But he even said I'd much rather do it the real constitutional way prior to 1976, which is through Congress. That before then I couldn't use national emergency because it wasn't given until then. Which Jimmy Carter, like I said, was the first to use it. Now I'm here to tell you this is a national emergency. Yeah, we got corrupt liberal courts that will sit there and say that the Green New Deal is a national emergency. A gun confiscation is a national emergency. But that's not Trump's fault. That is the court's fault. They should shoot it down. But they shouldn't shoot down what Trump's trying to do. Trump's trying to do something to make our country better. But because Congress is corrupt and bought off by the donors and by leftists and by progressives, with the exception of Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, and a few others, that's why we're in this problem right now. But to sit there and go off on Trump, your anger is misguided. And no, the reason you can't get elected nowadays, today, Joe Walsh, is not because of your feelings on Trump. It's because you can't accept the fact that the Congress is the problem and Trump is the symptom, and that Congress is the one that's not conservative, and that you support a Congress that is bloated, and that you won't call the Congress out, and all you do is call out Trump all the time. It's not because the simple fact that it's not because your stance on Trump. It's because your lack of stance on Congress and your lack of aggression on Congress and the fact that you're sitting there attacking Trump. And I don't hear you reading off the names of the rhino Republicans who voted for this 1,500-page monstrosity bill. And I don't hear you sitting there attacking Congress for being bloated. You sit there and say in generalities, but you don't get specific with names or anything. You say in generalities, we've been voting for years, but then you go back saying this is Trump's fault. And to me, yes, Trump shouldn't sign this stuff, and yes, Trump should be conservative. But here's one thing. He's not a principled conservative, so he's not held bent or held to anything. You know, he's not, whatever. He can be like persuaded to go any direction. You know, he's not like any, because he doesn't have, a solid belief any one way. He can be persuaded. He's not sold on anything, is what I'm saying. Because when you're in real estate, you're not sold. You can go whichever direction, whatever you think is best for you at that point in time and need at that point in time. And you know what? I just don't seem to understand why you seem to think that Trump is the problem. When the thing is, you're the problem because you can acknowledge that Congress is the problem. Trump is just a symptom. And we need to correct what's going on because there's no way to govern when you have a Congress that will not govern. And Trump would have signed a real fiscal responsible bill if it was passed. The fact is, it doesn't matter whether Trump signed a crab sandwich or a turd bill. To me, I'm not worried about that because I can care less about that. What I care about is Congress not able to be fiscally responsible. So that wouldn't happen to begin with. And why they're unable to pass a budget in a fiscal calendar year since Bush. That to me is my issue. Why are they not able to pass it then? Because if they're able to do that, it wouldn't matter. Because it wouldn't be a bad bill to go to Trump's desk anyways. Then the only way Trump can screw it up is if he vetoes it. To me, Congress is the focus. Congress is the problem. And Congress is the issue. And you're a part of that when you're the House Freedom Caucus in 2010 onward. That Speaker Boehner, why didn't you stop Speaker Boehner and Paul Ryan towards the end of Obama's administration and say, well, why are you continuing to give these executive orders? And why are you not in the House Freedom Caucus anymore? Hey, did you get voted out? And so you don't know. So you go behind the scenes. He could be building some on the wall. Could be stopped, could not be. I don't know if it's true or not. Dan Bongino could be wrong. He could be right. But you don't know. Is there any proof one way or the other? No, we haven't got proof that he is building the wall. No, we got proof that he's not. And you're going to put down Dan Bongino. You know what? It's like you can't even do math. And then Dan Bongino shouts back at you. You're not even good at math or something. So this is a petty little fight. I'm like, when you should be all band together to help get Trump to be conservative and things and people that are not, that are toxic and that are against our principles and that are against us getting to limited government. And when there's stuff that's keeping Trump from being conservative, then you need to attack that because Trump is not sold on any particular issue. You can go any which way. But Congress, since it's the problem, we need to be going after Congress. Because Congress is going Trump down the wrong path. And you know what? You can yell at Trump if it's the easier thing to do. Why he was going with Chuck and them back during the skinny repeal of 2017 when they're trying to skinny repeal Obamacare. But you know what? The problem is that Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan weren't trying to pass any bill whatsoever. So we kept going to Chuck and listening to Chuck. I understand that. but Chuck Schumer. But why is he trying to work with Chuck Schumer? Well, maybe if Congress was really trying to appeal Obamacare, which they had 8 years and didn't have any idea on how to appeal it, didn't have an idea on how to get rid of it. I mean, you had 8 years to come up with a plan to undo Barack Obama's Obamacare. But you see, they had nothing, you know? And so, if you're not going to work with him, then he's going to go with people that will work to try to get something done, whether it's good or bad. Because at least he can get something done, even if it's a bad something done, with the left and nothing on the right. He doesn't want to do anything. So it's either something bad happens or we just have a status quo. Why is there never anything good? And I'll tell you why, because Congress doesn't want anything good. Congress, for the most part, 95% of the people in Congress is not conservative. They do not want limited government. They're behind by their donors, and they want cheap labor, which is why they don't want the wall. See, the reason this is happening is because Congress is stabbing us in the back. Congress is ruining us. Congress is stopping us from getting fiscal responsibility. And in spite of Trump not being an ideologue, you're going to have those sometimes. Because he's not a Democrat either, so he can't run there. So we just have to force him to our principles. They don't do that. So when we have someone that we have like Trump, and Congress is in the sabotage him every chance you get, you don't go and blame Trump, you blame Congress. Congress is what sabotaged. Congress is a saboteur. I live to fight Congress. I want to get rid of the chinch bug. Because you know what? Trump may be spreading the chinch bug. But Trump did not lay down the chinch bug. Now what I'm saying is Congress created the chinch bug. Congress put it in one person's yard, and Trump is just spraying it because the people that are lawn care people, Chewy Green or what have you, ain't saying, hey, spread this to get rid of it. No one's telling Trump how to get rid of the chinch bug. So, well, if they won't tell me how to get rid of it, and I'm being told how to spread it, then I'm just going to spread it. If I can't get rid of it, then I'll just make everyone's yard with chinch bug and make every yard brown. If I can't make it green, I'll make it brown. At least I can do something because that's all I can do. Like, I can only accomplish brown since the Chewy Green people won't tell me how I can get it green. So you know what? I'm sorry, I must go with the chinch bug people, which is the Congress, the rhinos, because that's what they want to do. If you want the grass to go back to green, Joe Walsh, then you need to get Congress to knock it off and stop pushing good conservative ideas and tell them how to get rid of the chinch bug and turn the grass back to green and have limited government and fiscal responsibility. If all you got is them manipulating and pushing up this agenda, we're never going to be conservative, no matter whether it's Ted Cruz or Mike Lee. It won't be any worse with Ted Cruz or Mike Lee. Trump may make us a little worse because he can be persuaded to do whatever. But even Mike Lee and Ted Cruz would just be at a stalemate. We'll be at a stalemate for all of this stuff. But we can't get better unless we get rid of the people that's making it bad. And they don't want to go, and it's harder than anyone expected. I don't think Mike Lee and Ted Cruz can get rid of the swamp. It's just so bad right now. It's destroyed everything. I don't know if it's savable at this point. I don't know if we can save it. I think it's too damaged because we need more than just a few people to be able to fix government in Congress. Because right now I think it's too damaged and too destroyed and too gone. But attacking Trump does not do anything. I think we need to fight for our country. We need to believe in America. And we need to support Trump, and we need to be supportive of him because he's got no one in his corner. It's like he's going to the Iraq border to fight a war against the Iraqis, and he's by himself, and then they got millions and millions of fighters on the other side. What do you want Trump to do? Of course he's in a dumpster shit fire at that point. Of course it's like, oh my God, nothing good can come of it. Of course, it's just going to get worse from here because no one's defending him. No one's fighting with him. And my conservative voice is Mark Levin and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham and Rush Limbaugh and Dennis Prager and Michael Gallagher and Hugh Hewitt. That's who I listen to. Not Eric Erickson, not Jonah Goldberg, not Steve Deace, not you, Joe Walsh, and not Ben Shapiro, and not David French or Rich Rowley or Stu or Pat or Glenn, because they're wishy-washy and they are sometimes Trump. And you know what? I am someone that knows that Trump is a symptom. And I'm someone that supports people that will defend Trump. You can disagree with Trump. You guys want to disagree against him because you think he's toxic, because he has poor. Everyone's flawed. Everyone's imperfect. And yes, he may have poor role modeling skills. I don't get my role modeling from Trump. I get it from God, and I get it from my family, my parents. I don't care. Trump is, a bad character. So what? Doesn't mean he's a cheap shot with George H.W. Bush's funeral. When George H.W. Bush didn't want his funeral to be turned into a bash fest to attack Trump. He may get some conservative victories, but moral character still has to matter, and that's what George H.W. Bush. Like, I don't care. He has to be my lips, no new taxes. I still think George H.W. Bush has good character, but come on, man. Everyone's imperfect. So why do you have to go there and attack Trump every chance you get? You don't like Trump, so be. It's what we got. And Trump is not the problem, he's a symptom. So it's shameful that you're sitting there attacking him. I don't disagree with what you're saying, just so you're saying it too, is what I disagree with. This should be against Congress. Congress is, if you want to solve it, that's where it is. All Trump is a bright, shiny object to distract, a bouncy ball. While you're sitting there attacking Trump, Congress is spending more of our money or signing more bills that Trump will sign, when you should be going after Congress to tell them to stop passing these bills. Joe Walsh. Maybe you can stop and rethink it before you keep making a fool of yourself going after Trump. That's all.